Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Zatima Season 2, Episode 12, Risky Business. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off, with Fatima leaving the club with Paul. We got Zach, Tony, and Nate standing there just looking. Zach looking crazy like a little sick puppy. And Nate, of course, he's gonna Nate talking about, Fatima being mad, disrespectful. So Tony had to tell him, look, this is not the time for all of that. So he tries to introduce who his little boo thing is, and come to find out, it's Belinda. And Zach is like, oh, Lord. And she says, oh, well, Atlanta is way too small, what they always say. And Nate was like, well, what's up with this? Y'all know each other? And she was like, yeah, we messed around all nonchalant like it's cool. And Zach was like, yeah, one time. She says that Zach broke her and her best friend up. So Nate was like, well, who is your best friend? But she never did answer. So Zach was like, look, I got to get out of here. So Tony does offer to take him home because he got a ride with them. And he was like, okay, cool. So he goes over there and interrupts Angela with her date. And he was like, Angela, what's up? Who is this? Like, excuse me? Like, Zach, you got a lot of nerve. Like, if you don't get out them people's face. And she was like, this Sam. And he was like, oh, I apologize, Sam. And he was like, well, hey, is Fatima at your house? And she's like, why would I tell you that? So he asked her again, and she was like, nope. He was like, yep, she's there. Then he bolted out of there like he was Usain. And Angela grabs her purse like, look, Sam, we gotta go. So we get over there to Angela's house, where we see Fatima and Paul in there making out. And, Fatima was like, wait a minute, hold up. She can't go through with it, so she tells him to stop. So basically, she just realizes that, she's not in the right headspace. He's not Zach. He'll never be Zach. Told him he has a beautiful face, he's fine, he's sexy, he got it going on, but she don't want to feel like she's using him. Paul sitting over there probably with the blue balls talking about, you can call me his name if you want to, just use me up. I'm like, really, Paul? Like, you want it that bad? And he was dead serious. So they get to talking, and he was telling her all the things that they had in common. And she was like, well, how do you know all of this? He tells her that he picked up on all of that stuff over dinner. So she was intrigued, that he actually listened. And we also learned in the conversation that they had that Fatima had therapy in her late 20s. And I was a little baffled by that, because when Dr. Reed brought up therapy to her, it was never mentioned. But anyway, so Paul told her he was trying to get her to see that they got a little vibe going on. And she was like, yeah, she definitely can tell that. And that's why she thought it would be best that he go ahead and leave, because for her, it was just moving way too fast. And, basically she still was thinking about Zach. And he understood that. And next thing you know, here comes Angela busting through the door. Like, Fatima, girl, like, I've been calling your phone, you not answering. So Angela, she tells Paul and Sam that they need to leave. So Fatima says, well, what's going on, Angela? She said, well, Zach is on his way. So Fatima is being petty. She said, oh, Paul, you can stay. Angela said, you need to leave. Like, I don't need my stuff all tore up. And Paul was like, well, if he gonna be that mad, then we need to stay. She said, you got to go. Like, you ain't got to go home, but you getting up out of here. So Angela told Fatima, look, you living dangerous, but not at my house. And Fatima was like, well, how you know Zach coming over here? She said, well, I got a feeling. Then she asked Fatima what her and Paul was up in her house doing. And Fatima said, well, I'll tell you about it later. And Angela gonna look at her like, girl, I got time. So we go outside and we see Paul and Sam standing on the curb. I guess they were actually waiting on Zach. So he actually pulls up with Tony, and all of a sudden Tony, he wants all the smoke. He just start acting all hyped up and acting crazy, and Zach had to tell him to calm down. So Paul asked Zach, can he talk to him for a minute? And Zach told him, no, I don't have nothing to say to you. So Paul still didn't give a damn. He was like, look, you don't have anything to worry about. She wants you. You're a lucky man. And Zach was like, yeah, I know. Tony jumping all around, acting like he want to fight for Zach, repeating everything like he's some little parrot. He done pulled a doggone muscle in his leg. So Paul and Sam, they end up leaving. So Zach, he knocks on the door, and Fatima, she gets up and run and hide behind the wall somewhere, talking about, tell him I went to bed. And I'm like, child boo, I am not doing all of that. First of all, I would have never even answered the door in the first place. But he starts yelling all over the house, Fatima, Fatima, I love you. I just want to talk. All that fool-la-la. And Angela like, go over there and be with the girl you was hunching. And he was like, Angela, I wasn't hunching nobody, and mind your business. Sir, how you gonna tell this lady to mind her business in her own house? Like, you got a lot of nerve, Zach. And also, did you forget she was in your house last night when you admitted, even though you was lying, that you admitted that you had sex with Connie? So what are you talking about? Like, he's still hollering and screaming, and she was like, Zach, just go home. You know, it's always tomorrow. He gonna put his hand in her face like, talk to the hand. I'm like, ooh, child, we probably would have been fighting. And Tony like, come on, Zach, just come on. You know, she don't want to talk. So we go over there to Rise Ventures, and Zach, he's in the office looking sad and depressed. Bryce walks in. He doesn't pick up on that. He doesn't ask the man how he doing, what's wrong with him, none of that. All Bryce wants to know is, did you look over the paperwork I gave you? Bryce says he is focused, and baby, he got on blinders, because all he is worried about is getting Zach to agree to this project. Zach over there wants to know, what do you think about Dr. Reed? He's asking Bryce, and Bryce was like, he thought he was pretty spot on. And he says, do you think I need therapy? He says, a lot of people say I got issues. I'm like, you damn sure got a lot of issues, more than Vogue. Yes, you do. So Bryce, he tells Zach that he thinks that there are a few things that Zach can work on, but, you know, everybody has things they need to work on, and he'd rather not even get into it because all he want to do is talk about this deal. Telling Zach, you know, he got this nice contractor that's going to meet them down to the work site, and he just needed Zach to go with him. So Zach agreed, and Bryce's face just lit up like a Christmas tree. And I'm like, Bryce is kind of selfish to me, and I just don't understand why he is so adamant about this particular deal. It's so annoying. Every time he's on the screen, that's all he has to talk about. It's given like no storyline until this money is missing. It's really getting on my nerves now, because you clearly can see this guy is trying to talk to you as a friend. Apparently, he's let the whole thing go of you trying to come on to him, and he's asking you some, you know, pretty personal stuff, and you can see that he's depressed, and you're not even worried about that. All you want him to do is agree to your little project. Like, I don't like that. I don't like it. So we head over there to the firm, and we see Fatima. She's getting a call from Dr. Reed, and he says that he's calling to check on her and that he had an open slot in his book for her to come down. And she was like, well, what is this all about? Then he lies and says, oh, I just want to check on you. And then proceeds to say, you know, it's some things I want to share with you about Zach. And Fatima tells him like she's really not interested in all that. And, you know, he's kind of persistent about it. So she then agrees to meet him at noon. So Angela, she comes in there and she tells Fatima she's looking, you know, stressed out or whatever. She gonna be all right by not talking to Zach. Fatima told her that it'll take some time, but she'll be all right. Then it seemed like Angela came in there to be Zach's spokesperson or something. And Fatima was like, look, you know, I could put up with a lot of stuff, but I'm not putting up with the lying and the cheating. And, you know, basically you got to make them pay or they're going to keep doing stuff over and over again. So she's like, I'm going out with Paul tonight. And she was like, well, do you even like him? Like all of a sudden. And Fatima was like, you know, he all right, but, you know, he's not Zach. You know, he hears me. So here go Angela again taking up for Zach. Well, Zach sees you and all of that too. And I'm like, girl. So Fatima was like, well, why you all on his side all of a sudden? And she went to saying how pitiful he looked again. And she was like, well, how about this? How about you go call Bryce and I'll call Zach? And Angela said, well, that's two different things because Zach not looking for no Peter. And Fatima was like, well, yeah, you got a point with that one. So Zach, he goes over to the barbershop to talk to Tony, but he's not there. So he's chopping it up with Mr. Tyrone. And he says, word on the street is that you broke up with your girlfriend. And Zach was like, yeah, we working on some stuff. So Mr. Tyrone was like, you're not still getting advice from them two knuckleheads, right? Talking about Tony and Nate. And Zach was like, nah. He said, you need to talk to somebody and get you some real solid, good advice. And Zach was like, what, a therapist? So Zach trying to get like validation, trying to see if that's really such a good idea. Like, should he really go through with seeing Dr. Reed? And then Mr. Tyrone clearly was not here for therapy at all, because, he's old school, and he says that that's not what men do. It's for bitches. Nobody's going there laying on the couch telling their business. He said that Zach can pay him and he'll give him some real good advice. Zach told him he was good on all that. So then Nate, he pulls up on the scene, and him and Mr. Tyrone, they had a little banter back and forth. So Nate, he starts talking to Zach, asking about Belinda and if he was hitting her. And Zach said, well, it was only one time. And so Zach was like, well, are you into her? And he said, she cool. Zach said, you are a whole married man. And he says, well, she's cool with all of that. Zach said, well, that should tell you what kind of person you dealing with. So he goes through the whole thing about how Lori put him out and not talking to him, how she won't, answer his calls. He even wrote a letter, went back. The letter was all ripped up. Like, Lori don't be playing the radio. Lori is like the prime example of what Fatima was trying to tell Angela in the office, is you have to show them you not playing with them. And that's what Lori is doing. But the only thing with Nate, he don't give a damn, because he's still out here in these streets having sex with all these different women. So Nate said, I just want to do me for a little while. I'm like, this man got a whole family with kids that need to be taken care of, and he want to be ripping and running in the streets, talking about he just want to do him. But okay, child. So he was asking Zach, like, so you don't mind me hitting Belinda? And Zach was like, I don't give a damn. And he said, so, I don't mind no little sloppy seconds. And Zach told him, look, I got my fair share of bodies. I ain't judging nobody. You got your bodies. It's all what it is. But, you ain't sloppy seconds, thirds, or fourth. You like the 4,000th. And I'm telling you something that I know. So basically trying to let him know that Belinda and that cat out here hot in them streets, and that he needs to make sure he wearing them condoms. Nate claims that he's always wearing condoms, and Zach gave him a little look, and then he's like, well, I'm going to go get some more. So I'm like, So I don't know if he out here hitting Belinda raw, but we do know the actress who plays Belinda is actually pregnant in real life. So I could see that she could get pregnant from Nate, and they can write that into the script. I could see that happening. But we'll see. Something probably happened, because they bringing up bodies and condoms and clinics. So something's probably going to happen with that. So we head over there to the law firm, and we see Fatima walking down the hall, stepping in her nice pantsuit. And here comes Paul, claiming he came there to get some tools he left, headed to his next job. And he was like, can we do lunch? And she's cheesing, he's cheesing. And she was like, well, I got an appointment. And so he was like, well, what about dinner? And she was like, yeah, I was going to ask you. So he got all excited, because he was like, oh, yeah, all smitten and stuff. He didn't know what to do with himself. So they end up, setting their little dinner date for like 8 o'clock. So as Paul and Fatima are finishing up, skinning and grinning at each other, we see Angela in the background lurking. And, she comes up, and both her and Fatima watching Paul as he walk off, talking about how fine he is. So Angela asks Fatima, do she want to go to lunch? And Fatima has to remind her about the appointment that she has with Dr. Reed. So Angela asked her, did she want her to come with her? And Fatima told her no. She asked her, what was she going to do about food? Fatima told her she'll just pick a shake up. And Angela didn't want to hear that. She told her she'll get her some food from the little restaurant and have it for her when she comes back. So we go back over there to the barbershop, and Tony and Nate sitting outside chilling. And Belinda walks up, and, she talking to Nate like, take me over here to this little Chinese restaurant. And, Tony Thompson, he better not be able to take you to no restaurant. I guess he done cut his hair for free, and basically trying to say, like, if he got money to take you out, he got money to pay me. So Nate over there sitting there broke as a joke, telling him, how about you take me to get something to eat? And she like, you done lost your mind. He was like, look, I'll pay you back next week. And she was like, well, all right. And don't be trying to pay me back in D. And he was like, no, I got $40 for you. Tony like, let me go back inside, because he had there sweating like a damn pig. So when Tony leaves, Belinda and Nate, they start dapping each other up like, yeah, thanks for telling me about the app. Like they plan work to get Fatima and Zach broken up. And I'm trying to figure out why in the club Nate didn't know who Belinda's best friend was. If I was a little confused about that. But Either way, they up there giving each other dap, and then Angela walks up. So her and Belinda start talking, and Belinda introduces her to Nate, and she was like, aren't you Zach's friend? And, Angela looking at them all like, what's up with this? Like a little shady. And, so Belinda tell Nate to go get them their table. So they just talk, and she was like, girl, what's up? Like what's going on? So Belinda says that Nate just something to do and that he is blessed. And Angela really didn't want to hear all that. She was like, well, girl, be careful. And she was like, girl, I'm straight. But, she had to make sure she let Angela know that she heard that Zach and Fatima broke up. And then gonna tell her to tell Fatima to call me. I'm like, girl, stop. So Zach, he goes down to see his mom and runs into Connie. And she was like, oh, please tell me you here to see me. And he was like, nah. So she was like, oh, I know you couldn't the other night, but maybe we could try again. And he like, nah, you seeing my mom? So she pointed down the hallway or whatever. And then she started talking about the D and the coochie and all this and that. And Zach basically told her, well, maybe in another lifetime. I'm like, girl, that's all you be talking about. Like, moving on. So Zach, he walks up on his mom, and Jeremiah, she dragging on a cigarette. And Jeremiah on the wall slurring and looking like he high and drunk all wrapped up into one. And Zach is like, I need to talk to y'all. Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk? He done said it like 1,000 times. And they were like, why we need to talk? And Jeremiah talk about, are you wearing a wire? And you gonna pay us? You got to give us some money to talk. And he was like, why I got to pay y'all to talk? So he goes in his wallet as usual, give him everything in the wallet. And he was like, you the one over there staying in the mansion? And Zach like, it's a duplex, but whatever. And the mama like, well, I talk, but you got to take me to go get another cigarette, and then we could talk in the car. And I'm like, ooh, they just too exhausted for me. So Zach and the mama end up walking off, and he told Jeremiah to come with him, but we never actually see that. So Fatima, she finally gets to Dr. Reed's office, and he comes out to greet her, and she's like, well, what is this all about? He says, well, I don't want you to be surprised, but you're definitely going to be surprised. So he takes her to his office, and when he opens the door, Zach, his mom, and Jeremiah are sitting, waiting in his office. And the episode ends there. So what did you guys think of episode 12? Drop down below and let me know your thoughts. As always, you guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.